everyone please fold your hands, repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devi Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye. Thank you very much. We're reading from Srimad Bhagavad-Gītā as it is, chapter 1. We're starting from text 2. This question was raised a few classes ago, whether this was true or not. But I am entitling this verse that the Duryodhana is not affected by the holy place. This was actually questioned whether a devotee raised it that never heard this before. But as we will explore in this text, this is the subject of this particular verse. Sanjay Uvacha Drishtva tu Pandavanikam Vyudham Duryodhanastada Acharya Upasangamya Raja Vachanam Abravit. So just one significant word in this text is Upasangamya. Upasangam, to come close, to approach. Duryodhana approached Acharya, Dronacharya, his teacher. Sanjay said, O king, after looking over the army arranged in military formation by the sons of Pandu, King Duryodhana went to his teacher and spoke the following words. So here is the part of the purport which explains that Duryodhana was not affected by the holy place. One of the concerns Dhritarashtra has is he did not want a compromise. He did not want, and he feared that the holy place may influence his sons to seek a compromise. They may change their resolve to fight. He did not want that. Now this is how it's developed in the purport. First of all, Srila Prabhupada writes that Dhritarashtra was blind from birth. He was also spiritually blind, unfortunately. And Prabhupada makes the point that his sons were equally blind in the matter of religion. So he was, based on that experience, Dhritarashtra was confident that they would not really seek a compromise, to come to some agreement with the Pandavas, other than to have a fight in which his own party would be successful. But Srila Prabhupada is pointing out that there is this blindness. In other words, when somebody is making all kinds of calculations and comes to all kinds of conclusions based on those calculations, when a person is called blind, it means that they overlook something very significant. So spiritually blind means to overlook those factors that have a bearing on our on the result, which are spiritual in nature. So they were blind, both the father and the sons, to this spiritual aspect. Generally, people think this is spiritual considerations have no bearing. In other words, Dhritarashtra was blind then as an exception. However, that's the norm today. Everyone is blind. They deem such considerations as merely sentiment. They do not have any value, factual basis. They don't affect the outcome. However, this is what Srila Prabhupada is contending, that even on a practical issue of an outcome of a battle, spiritual considerations do have a bearing. And the text of the Bhagavad-Gītā is trying to teach us that not only is it a factor, but it's the most significant factor in the outcome of any event. Now, of course, we should debate this. We should ask this question, if any of you remember at the end, whether that is always the case. So I leave it with you. So, Srila Prabhupada is saying that he was confident that they would not come to any agreement, but still he was doubtful of the influence of the place of pilgrimage, doubtful of the influence upon his sons, who were not religious. The place is religious, spiritual place. Generally, a spiritual place has some influence. But the interesting point of this verse is that it had no influence on Duryodhana. None. Because why? Tada acharya upasangamya. He went ahead to discuss the fighting strategy. So he is not, it's not influencing him, it's not making him hesitate in any way. So that's the answer Dhritarashtra was seeking. Has it influenced my son in any significant? So immediately Sanjay is answering that my dear king, your son is not affected. He is approaching his teacher. So therefore, he is not going to, Prabhupada writes here, to encourage the despondent king and thus assured him, Sanjay, to encourage the despondent king and to assure him that his sons were not going to make any sort of compromise under the influence of the holy place. It's interesting. This is something Prahlad Maharaj also mentions. Krishnena matirna Krishne paratas satova vito vipadyata grihavratana. Somebody who has already taken a vow, a materialistic vow, he is not influenced. Not only by a holy place, he is not influenced by his own considerations, he is not influenced by others. Or a combination of both. Sometimes in life we think, today Giriraj Maharaj was mentioning how there was a demon, a big demon in Bombay. And sometimes you read that particular whole episode and you think, wouldn't a person, a demon, be influenced by the association of Srila Prabhupada? By Krishna consciousness, by the devotees chanting Hare Krishna. We're learning from Bhagavad-Gītā and we're learning from Prahlad Maharaj Demons are not influenced. Devotees are influenced. Devotees are influenced. For them, these influences have a bearing. They have some relevance, some importance. They may have a change of heart, but not a demon. Not a person who has taken a vow. Griha vrata nam. He is determined. Duryodhana is such a person. So this is another subsidiary lesson, that we should not entertain sentimental hopes that by exposing a demon, a very bad person, to a place, a holy place, that they may become changed. There is evidence that Duryodhana is not changed. It's just a practical observation. It's an interesting lesson. So Duryodhana is approaching his commander, Dronacharya, and we will learn very shortly what he says. Srila Prabhu is pointing out that even though Sanjay calls Duryodhana Raja, Vachanam Abravit, the king spoke these words, he's saying, Srila Prabhupada is indicating in the purport that because Duryodhana's behavior was that of a diplomat, he wasn't actually a king. So in other words, he's using the address of king to Duryodhana in a sarcastic fashion. He's such a king who has to approach somebody else. King is supposed to be the top, as one president of America famously said, the buck stops here. And the king is supposed to be the person where it stops. But Duryodhana is really not a king. He is a diplomat. He is trying to maneuver things. And one of these maneuvers is that he is approaching. So those who understand, they understand that this so-called king is really not a king. Of course somebody may say, what's the harm, what's the wrong? What's the wrong in being diplomat? Diplomat's good. He is clever. He is taking care of things. He is not leaving any loose ends. It is glorified amongst fools, the idea. Really what it means is a person is not confident. It hides the fact that a person is not fully confident of what he's doing. And he's trying to ensure the cooperation and help of his allies by his various words and maneuvers. And this is a little different approach than a devotee's. A devotee is, on the other hand, a very sincere person. He less relies upon maneuvers and more upon his sincerity of purpose. This gets highlighted as we go through. This is how Duryodhana is acting, and we will soon see how Arjuna acts under the circumstance of this impending battle. Moving on to text number 3. Pashyaitan Panduputranam Acharya Mahatim Chamu Vyudam Drupada Putrena Tava Shishyana Dhimata. Now, these are the words that Duryodhana says. Raja Vachanam Abravit, these are the words he speaks. What does he say? Oh my teacher, behold, the great army of the sons of Pandu, so expertly arranged by your intelligent disciple, the son of Drupada. Straight away, Duryodhana is being not only sarcastic but very rude to his teacher, because he is telling him on his face that you have a dangerous aspect to you, in which you enable the enemy. The person who we are going to fight is your disciple, and a very intelligent disciple, because look what he has done. Look what we're faced with. Look what we have to deal with. Oh, you very clever teacher. This is like really very uncivilized behavior to his teacher, the person who has taught him everything he knows. So this is the kind of diplomat. He is not even a very encouraging diplomat. He's a person who finds fault with his own commander-in-chief straight away. Behold, just see, Pashyaitam. Have a look. Have a look at this Mahatim Jam, this very great arrangement of the enemy. Thanks to you, Tava Shishyena, this is your doing. This is a direct outcome of what you have done. Had you not been so foolish. So, there's no respect whatsoever. No civilized behavior. Simply outright attack on his commander-in-chief, a person who is putting his own life in his cause. So Srila Prabhupada makes this point. He says that Duryodhana is a great diplomat and points out the defects of Dronacharya. So what I want to now start doing in this explanation, that the way I'm approaching Bhagavad-Gītā here, is I'm going to try to get you to understand, to link Prabhupada's purport, the parts of it, to particular parts of the text itself. Okay. In other words, Srila Prabhupada doesn't actually speak haphazardly. He doesn't just, it's all very, there's a clear system Srila Prabhupada actually follows. So Srila Prabhupada is beginning this purport with this elaboration of the point Pashya, please see. So a diplomat, what he does, he points out the mistake. Oh, just see what you have done. Just Pashya. He wants to show, he wants to make it self-evident that the mistake he's pointing out, even you can see. Let me show it to you. You know, a teacher, when they invite the student, their home, they call them. Just see. They point it out. Have a look at this. So that you can see also. So Srila Prabhupada is actually simply elaborating on this point of Pashya. And Pashya what? That this mistake. Have a look at your mistake. Have a good look. And it's a rebuke. It's a chastisement of a person who has no right to do this. But so Srila Prabhupada explains what that mistake was that Duryodhana is referring to. So Srila Prabhupada gives a little bit of the history that even though Dronacharya knew this is the son of my enemy. He taught him. Why? Because he's a liberal Brahmana. This is what a liberal Brahmana does. He does not differentiate between friends and enemies. That's Dronacharya saw no fault in this, but Duryodhana of course did. And Srila Prabhupada makes a point that he does this with the view that Dronacharya may not be similarly lenient as he was when he taught the enemy the science of fighting. Don't do this. Don't do this liberal business in the fight. Take advantage of any superiority you may have. Kill them. Don't be lenient. Don't do what you've done before. So it's interesting. Bhagavad-Gītā is showing that a demon is not a person with horns coming out of his head and fangs in his teeth. It's this mentality, purely materialistic mentality, purely materialistic evaluation of everything. This is right, this is wrong, this is favorable, this is unfavorable, with no other consideration. How to achieve victory. It's interesting, he's completely dedicated to victory, and yet here's a person who will suffer defeat in a most remarkable fashion, in a most exemplary way. But here he is, he's completely only thinking about victory, and whatever it takes. If I have to insult my commander-in-chief, so be it. Text number 4. Of course, he's now proceeding from the Dronacharya's mistake to some other points. And his first development is that, well, the enemy is actually quite strong now. This is his point. Atra Shura Maheshwasa Bhimarjuna Samayudhi. Samayudhi. He's comparing the various enemies' soldiers in comparison to Bhima and Arjuna. Because Bhima and Arjuna, their strength, their ability is known. So he's saying, well, it's more than just Bhima and Arjuna. Atra Shura, over here, Shura, great warriors, heroes. Maha Ishu Asa, great bowmen. Bhima Arjuna Saman, equal to Bhima and Arjuna. Yuyudhana, Virata, Cha, Drupada, Cha, Maharatha. Here in this army are many heroic bowmen, equal in fighting to Bhima and Arjuna. Great fighters like Yuyudhana, Virata, and Drupada. By the way, Yuyudhana is another name for Satyaki. Satyaki. He was the commander-in-chief of Lord Krishna's armies. Interestingly, the commander-in-chief of Krishna's armies was with Arjuna, but the army was with Duryodhana on the other side. Anyway, just a small point. So Prabhupada makes this point that all the other warriors are being compared to the strength of Bhima and Arjuna because they were already known, and they were known to be very formidable. And this is part of Duryodhana's analysis that he's presenting to his teacher. Drishta ketusche kitana kashi rajascha viryavan purujit kunti bhojascha shaibhyascha narapungavaha. Narapungava. There are also great heroic powerful fighters, Viryavan, Narapungava, like Drishtaketu, Jekitana, Kashiraj, Purujit, Kuntibhoj and Shailya. Yudhamanyus, Chavikranta, Uttamojas, Viryavan, Sobhatra, Draupadeyascha, Sarva Eva Maharatha. Vikranta, he's giving another description about these warriors, that they're very mighty. Vikranta in dictionary also has some other synonym meanings. Courageous, bold, strong warriors. So mighty is what Srila Prabhupada uses in the word for word. There are the mighty Yudhamanyu, the very powerful Uttamoja, the son of Subhadra, and the sons of Draupadi. All these warriors are great chariot fighters. Sarva eva maharatha. So having said that, in the next text, Duryodhana says, but they're good, they're very strong, they're equal to Bhima and Arjuna, but we are more powerful. Asmakam, our. Tu vishishtaye. Please note, especially that these are tan nibhoda dvijottama nayaka mama sainyasya sangyartham tan bravimite. But for your information, nibhoda, let me tell you for your information, O best of Brahmanas, let me tell you, bravimite, about the captains who are especially qualified to lead my military force. Mama Sainyasya. Bhava, yourself. Bhishmascha, Karnascha, Kripascha, Samitinjaya, Ashwathama, Vikarnascha, Somadatis, Tataivacha. There are personalities like you, Bhavan, Bhishma, Karna, Kripa, Ashwathama, Vikarna, and the son of Somadatta called Purishrava were always victorious in battle. And that's derived from the word Samitinjaya. They always victorious in every direction. Anyaja bahava asura mad arthe takta jivitaha nana shastra pararana sarve yuddha visharada. Now here there is an unfortunate use of phrase that Duryodhana uses to glorify these warriors. He uses the phrase takta jivita, who are ready to give up their lives. Takta jivita. They're ready to die for me. And Srila Prabhupada makes the point that they will die for him. Not only they're ready, but that is the unfortunate kind of omen came out of his own mouth. There are many other heroes who are prepared to lay down their lives for my sake. Mad arte takta jivita. All of them are well equipped with different kinds of weapons, Nana Shastra Praharana, and all are experienced in military science. Sarve Yuddha Visharada. Visharada, very experienced expert in fighting. So Prabhupada makes that point in the purport that all of these people are determined to lay down their lives for Duryodhana's sake. In other words, it is already concluded that all of them will indeed die in the battle of Kurukshetra. This is, like I said, it's an unfortunate slip of the tongue, which is expressing the inevitable consequence of this folly. Now, Duryodhana, he makes the comparison more emphatic in this verse, number 10. Aparyaptam tat asmakam balam bhishma virakshitam. Paryaptam tva idam etesham balam bhima virakshitam. Actually, this word aparyaptam has two opposite meanings in usage, which we'll discuss shortly. Our strength, tad asmakam balam, is immeasurable, aparyaptam, and we are perfectly protected by grandfather Bhishma. Whereas the strength of the Pandavas, idam etesham balam, carefully protected by Bhima, is limited, paryaptam. So this word aparyaptam, it also means insufficient. It's not complete. Paryaptam means when something is complete. Aparyaptam means when it is not complete. Of course, that is not the meaning that Duryodhana is attaching. He is saying it is so complete that you cannot find the end of it. Aparyaptam. You cannot reach its end. It's immeasurable. But again, it's an unfortunate use of phrase, because it also means it's not sufficient, actually. That's the usage of that particular word. So, Prabhupada makes the point that Duryodhana makes a comparison of the strength, and he's doing it by comparing Bhima and Bhishma. So if you consider Bhima and Bhishma, in front of Bhishma, however powerful and however ferocious he was, really, Bhishma is even more powerful. So he's taking solace in this comparison. He's trying to reassure himself. He's trying to revive his confidence, even though he was shaken by seeing the strength of the enemy, by the arrangement of the army of the enemy. He's taking shelter of this idea that really, there's no comparison. Bhima is nothing. He's not a fig in front of Bhishma. And Bhishma, of course, he was really a formidable warrior. Aside from that, nobody could kill him unless he decided to die. There's this amazing. So he's taking shelter of this idea that however much he may be afraid of having seen the arrangement of the enemy, he's taking shelter of this idea that, well, Bhima, we're good, we're powerful, we shall win. Ayaneshu cha sarveshu, text 11. Yatha bhagam avastitaha bhishmam eva virakshantu bhavanta sarva eva hi. So, let Srila Prabhupada say what he says here. All of you, bhavanta sarva eva hi, must now give full support to Grandfather Bhishma as you stand avastita and to respect the yatha bhagam, strategic points of entrance into the phalanx of the army. Ayaneshu cha sarveshu. So Duryodhana, Prabhupada writes, after praising the prowess of Bhishma, further considered that others might think that they had been considered less important. So, in his usual diplomatic way, he tried to adjust the situation in the above words. So he's saying, no, you're also very significant. You have a role to play. Because after all, old. The enemy may take advantage from other sides. You guys are playing a very important role. You please do it nicely. So, in a materialist, this is his solace. He looks at his arrangements. I've taken care of this. I've taken care of the mortgage, the money, the bank balance, the interest. I've invested. Everything is good. Everything is good. That's his world. He cannot see anything else. So, what is the conclusion? this is his conclusion. Tasya sanjanayan harsham kuru vriddha pitamaha singanadam vinodyache shankam dharmo pratapava. So, everyone is very intelligent. Bhishma is intelligent, Dronacharya is intelligent, everyone is intelligent. So Bhishma understands what's going on. And so what does he do? Then Bhishma, the great valiant grandsire of the Kuru dynasty, the grandfather of the fighters, blew his conch shell very loudly, making it sound like the roar of a lion, Singanadam, giving Duryodhana joy. Tasya sanjanayam harsham. Sanjanayam, increasing his confidence, harsha, his enthusiasm. So they don't want to make Duryodhana despondent. Bhishma, Dronacharya, everyone. So here is the response. Big, loud roar from the conch shell. So Prabhupada makes an interesting point in the purport that even on the one hand, Bhishma is encouraging his grandson, Duryodhana, by this loud blowing of the conch. However, this conch is the symbol that is intimately, directly associated with Lord Krishna. And Prabhupada is saying there's a subtext to this in which Bhishma is telling Duryodhana that he has no chance of victory. Because I'm using that very symbol of the person who is standing on the other side with the enemy. Krishna and his four symbols that he holds in his four hands in the Vishnu form, everyone knows they're completely associated with the Lord. The lotus, the conch, the wheel, and the mace, the club. So, specifically the conch shell. So there's this dual kind of statements being made by Bhishma. Tata sankascha bheryascha panavanaka gomukha sahasaiva hanyanta sa shabdas timulo bhavat. After that, the conch shells, drums, bugles, trumpets, and horns were all suddenly sounded, and the combined sound was tumultuous. Tada shvetei haye yuktei mahati sandane stito madhava pandavas chaiva divyo shankho pradat matu. On the other side, both Lord Krishna and Arjuna stationed on a great chariot, Mahati Syandane Stito, drawn by white horses, Shvetei Haye, sounded the transcendental conch shells. So Sanjay is saying, a conch shell was blown by Bhishma, but now the other side is responding with their conch shells. But Krishna's conch shell is transcendental. It has a certain quality that is not ordinary. It is extraordinary, it's divine. There's an interesting thing now, we're going to go into Bhagavad-Gītā, that transcendental is something that has a quality beyond the material, but it also has a presence in the material sphere. It's an interesting point.
As a what?
It has a presence, an influence in the material sphere as well, even though it is not material. It's of the nature of the soul. The soul is not material. But it has its influence in the material world also, the material body. It's very something to think about a little bit. This conch by Lord Krishna is like the soul. It resembles a conch, but it is spiritual. So it has a quality beyond a material conch. Beyond. Just like the soul is interacting with matter in the form of animating the body, but it is beyond the body, even though it is intimately connected with the body. So it's a similar thing here. And so here, Srila Prabhupada goes into 4 signs of victory for Arjuna in the purport. 4 signs. Okay. First one is Divya. The conch shell in the hands of Krishna and Arjuna are described as transcendental. That means they're not. There is something about Krishna and Arjuna that is not. It has a dimension beyond the one that is purely material. There is a divine element, transcendental element. Then the second victory is, Prabhupada says, Jayas, he quotes this phrase, Jayas tu Panu Putranam, Yesham Pakshe Janardana. Victory is always with persons like the sons of Pandu because Lord Krishna is associated with them. Jayas, Jaya means victory. Tu, certainly, only Pandu Putrana, Yesham, with whom Pakshe, on whose side is Janardana. So, here is the signs of victory. First of all, the conches are divine. Secondly, Janardana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, if he is on your side, that's a sign of victory. In other words, it's not possible that you can suffer defeat if Krishna is standing by you, Pakshi, on your side. Third point is Madhava. In the verse, Sanjay says that Madhava Pandavas Chaiva. So Prabhupada makes the point that the word Madhava means the husband of the goddess Fortune. So divine conch, Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thirdly, Madhava, indicating the goddess of fortune is also there. And goddess of fortune, amongst her various influences, one is that victory must accompany the person upon whom the goddess of fortune has blessed that person. It's partly why many people seek her blessings through various endeavors. Fourth point is Mahati Sandani. Mahati Sandani is referring to Sandani, the chariot upon which Arjuna was. This chariot was donated, Prabhupada writes, by Agni, the fire god. In other words, it was a special chariot that it must be victorious. The chariot itself is so special, given by fire god. In fighting, the chariot is a very important element in the success or defeat of a battle. So 4 signs are there. Divya, Shankha, divine. Jayastu Panduputrana Yesham Pakshe Janardana. Krishna is on their side. Madhava, he is accompanied by the goddess of fortune. And finally, the chariot is given by the fire god. Okay, let's see. We can do one more verse and then we will end. Text number 15. Panchajanyam Rishikesho Devadatam Dhananjaya Poundram Dagmo Mahashankam Bhima Karma Vrikodara. So here Krishna's name Rishikesha is introduced by Sanjay. And Srila Prabhupada will elaborate on this. Lord Krishna blew his conch shell called Panchajanya. Arjuna blew his, the Devadatta. And Bhima, the voracious eater and performer of Herculean tasks, blew his terrific conch shell called Poundra. So Prabhupada says Lord Krishna is referred to as Rishikesh in this verse because he is the owner of all the senses. Rishika, Isha. Rishika, senses, Isha. Every sense of every living entity in every species of life is owned by Krishna. Krishna owns them. The living entity does not own them. Prabhupada said he has them on rent. He's borrowing them. The owner, the person who possesses all the senses of all living entities, is Krishna. It's interesting, right? So it's pretty profound that the owner of the senses is blowing his conch shell. Of everybody. Duryodhana's senses, Dronacharya's, Bhishma's, everybody. This Supreme Personality of Godhead has decided to side with one particular party. That is a very significant factor. The materialist doesn't think of it. But here, Sanjay is pointing it out. Just consider who it is that's on the other side. So that's what it means, Rishika Isha. That he controls and he owns the senses of all living entities. Prabhupada makes a nice point here. The living entities are part and parcel of him, of Krishna, and therefore the senses of the living entities are also part and parcel of his senses. See, just like we have control over our senses. Well, it just so happens Krishna has control over everyone's senses, just as I have control over my particular 5 senses. And Srila Prabhupada then makes the point that since he is the owner, the controller of everyone's senses, how could he possibly be senseless? In other words, devoid of senses, devoid of personality. He is more full a person than any other person. He is more full an individual than all other individuals. And it also explains how it is that we have senses. Because we're part and parcel of Krishna, and Krishna has senses, therefore we have part and parcel senses. Just like we are part and parcel of him. Now, here's the context of this meaning here. Prabhupada says, the Lord situated in the hearts of all living entities directs their senses. But he directs in terms of the surrender of the living entity. This is a significant point of this particular verse here, text and purport. And in the case of a pure devotee, he directly controls the pure devotee's sense. So Krishna, in other words, if a person is dealing with you, he's only dealing with you. But suppose you are being controlled by God. Now the person is not dealing with you. You see the point, the significance. Because every function of your body is now being controlled by God. So am I now really dealing with you, or am I now dealing with God, the Supreme Personality? So this is Prabhupada's point, that in the case of Arjuna, because Arjuna is fully surrendered to Krishna, fully, not partially, he's a pure devotee, Krishna is now directly controlling his senses. The mistake is to think that Duryodhana is making, Dhritarashtra is making, we are going to fight the sons of Pandu. When in fact, Rishikesha, the person, is like a puppet. You know. It's the puppeteer who has full control. You're not dealing with the puppet anymore. The puppet may have his limitations, but not the puppeteer. Not the controller of the sense. Arjuna, as an individual, might have his limitations. And you may compare Bhima and Bhishma and think Bhima is insignificant compared to Bhishma. But not if Bhima is controlled by Krishna. Now he is not insignificant. It changes the balance completely. So Sanjaya intelligently is using the word Rishikesha, my dear king. Who blew this conch? The person who controls everyone's senses. And he's completely controlling the senses of the Pandavas. Because they're completely surrendered to Krishna. Here on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, the Lord directly controls the transcendental senses of Arjuna, and thus the particular significance of the use of Krishna's name as Rishikesh. And thus, that's the interesting point. Srila Prabhupada then goes on to give an explanation that the Lord actually has His names according to His different attributes and activities. And He gives different examples of Madhusudana, Yashodananda. And He again ends it by saying His name is Rishikesha because He gave direction to Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Then Prabhupada ends this purport by saying, well, Arjuna is referred in the verse as Dhananjaya because he found great wealth in order to help his brother perform the Rajasuya yajna. And Bhima is known as Vrikodara because he could eat as voraciously as he could perform Herculean tasks. And so this is Srila Prabhupada's style. He likes to demystify every new word, every new idea as it comes up. So we've learned why Vrikodara was used, why Dhananjaya was used, and particularly why Rishikesha was used for Krishna. So therefore Prabhupada says, concludes that therefore this blowing of the conch shells was different from the blowing of conch shells by the Kauravas, because of the persons who blew their conches. Prabhupada ends by saying, so they, the Kauravas, they were predestined to lose the battle. And that was the message announced by the sound of the conch shells. Thank you very much. Are there any questions? There's a mic behind you.
Krishna Prabhuji, I have two questions. That first one is that, like, how we can understand Dhritarashtra is religious, like, because he is speaking about religious principles, influence of Kurukshetra, like pilgrimage. That is my first question. And
let me answer that. Dhritarashtra was not exactly ignorant. He's not like a person who has no education. Dhritarashtra was quite knowledgeable. He knew the principles of religion also. Now the question really is, how can a person who is aware of religious principles do what he did? Am I right? That's the assumption. That's what I pointed out yesterday, that actually it's a bit like a doctor. You know, nobody knows better than a doctor that smoking is bad. He knows what it does to your lungs. He knows. But do you know how many doctors smoke? A lot. A lot of doctors smoke. So knowledge in itself does not reform behavior. That's the material situation. Dhritarashtra was like that. He was knowledgeable, but it did not influence his behavior. Your assumption is it should have, but it doesn't. A doctor who knows very many details of how smoking is bad, you will find many of them will smoke. I'll elaborate on it more, but let me hear your second question.
you're saying about devotees are influenced by material nature, but not non-devotees. I could not understand.
By holy place. I said devotees are influenced by a holy place, not demons. You misunderstood. Devotees, when they go to a holy place, they will be influenced favorably. They may change, their behavior may change. But not a person who's a demon. Sometimes devotees think that he's a bad fellow, but if I get him to come to Vrindavan, he'll change. You may be surprised that he doesn't, because there's great precedence there. So many others never did. So, a person who is devotionally inclined, he will change. But not a person who is a non-devotee, who has taken the vow of not being a devotee. Griha vratana matirna krishne paratas satova mitho vipadyata griha vratana. Excuse me. Is that okay? Any other? Can you pass them?
Just to add to that, Srila Prabhupada often used to mention that a lot of cheaters come to holy places because there are a lot of innocent people coming there, and also a lot of people that actually want to be cheated because they don't want the real thing. So even in Vrindavan, you can find them all over the place. You don't have to look hard either.
That's another thing. Often what happens in the West is they say, I went to Vrindavan and this happened. How can it be? Well, that's really our ignorance. We are presuming something that really has no basis in fact. It's a foolish presumption that I will go to Vrindavan and everything will be wonderful. One time, I'll give you an interesting example. I'm from Bhaktivedanta Manor in England. And there is one room that must be one of the headquarters of the ghosts in all the planets. There's nobody there, but it's full. It's very full. There's no standing room. It's very full. And that happens to be the theater where the drama takes place. And I'm thinking there's another drama going on anyway. So somebody said, well, Krishna is here. How are these ghosts all here? So please don't take this badly. I said, but you are here.
I know that.
I'm sorry?
I know that.
So the point is this, that Krishna is not going to say, no, you cannot come to my holy place, to my temple. Sama Sarveshu Bhuteshu, he is equal to everybody. And the ghost is there as well as I am there. So, in the holy place, there are some bad people here also. And they're not changed. So, we shouldn't assume that because it's a holy place, because it's a temple, there can be no bad elements. Is that okay? Can you pass the mic?
You mentioned today about Krishna's army being on Duryodhana's side and then the commander being on Arjuna's side. And I was just suddenly thinking how difficult it must have been for Krishna's army to fight against Krishna. So is there any information about how they dealt with that? Like how did they...
No, I read the Mahabharata in that, actually the whole of it, so it doesn't deal with how did they adjust. One of the people by name who is mentioned in the army, who's on the other side, is Kritavarma. And Kritavarma was a great devotee of Krishna. But he is fighting to death. He kills many, many soldiers and leaders of soldiers of the Pandavas. Everyone had the sense that I have to do my duty. This is my duty. This is what I have to do. Even though they're on the side of the bad guy. Bhishma himself really is a devotee. And not just a devotee, he's a Mahajan. He's an exceptionally great devotee. He's on the bad side. It's something to reflect on, that we have too many presumptions, that we may have to adjust, we may have to mold our thinking around these points. It doesn't follow that we should be on the bad side, though. But there is a deep sense amongst elevated people that I must do my duty to the best of my ability. They're not insincere. They're not insincere. They're very sincere. Because they understand that this is what Krishna wants me to do. Prabhupada gave the example of Maya Devi. He said, she's a great devotee of Krishna, but her service is a thankless task. You will not thank her for doing her service, because her service is to punish you. It's to even to stop a devotee from being a devotee, to entice him, to make him fall down. That's her service. And Prabhupada said she does it very well. So we're surrounded by amazing devotees. Alright. Thank you very much. Grantha Srimad Bhagavad-Gītā ki